Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rob Volia, broker for the exit real estate experts in Old Hickory and author of Real Estate Reset. It is the first workday of the month, and you know what that means. It is time for a market update. Let's see what's happening in Middle Tennessee and with the real estate market. Let me go ahead and share my screen with y'all, and let's roll. And so, as usual, let's just start off with what's happening with interest rates. The cool thing is, we have actually seen interest rates change a little bit since the last full market update that we did. So, the last full market update would have been early August, I believe I did it August 1st. And so, we were looking at this. We were looking at, for the last day of July, we were looking at 30-year fixed rates at about 6.75. Right now, they've gone down to 6.56%. Now, this is on the Freddie Mac website. Obviously, I'm not a lender. I can't quote you a rate, but at the same time, this is straight from Freddie Mac's website. Not a huge drop. I mean, we're seeing in a span of 4 weeks go down about a sixth of a percent. So not a huge drop, but it does make an impact. First off, it's a pretty clear trend line going down. I mean, you could even trace it back, I think, into right here where it peaked at the end of May at close to 7. I mean, yeah, it dropped here, went up for a couple weeks, but then went back down. I mean, we're seeing from the end of May through today a drop of what is that 0.33, so I guess a third of a percent. Now that is becoming substantial, especially for a market where rates have kind of normalized in this upper sixes. You might be asking, hey, well, what does this actually mean? Does a third of a percent change in a couple of months really matter to me? Let me show you something. I should have just pulled this up ahead of time. But just go to mortgagecalculator.org if you want to play around with some of these numbers, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Just for the interest of time, I'm just gonna plug everything in here as zero, except even the property taxes, except for the house and the payment and the percent and all that. So say you're putting 20% down, and what were those numbers we just said? I believe it was 6.89% was the first one. And when we calculate if you had a 20% down payment on a $400,000 home at 6.89%, you would have been at about $2,100 per month, a little more than 2,100 if nothing changes other than the rate. And so if we went to 6.56, which is what I believe the latest rates were, you're at about 2035. So about an $80 per month payment difference for that third of a percent at a $400,000 home with 20% down. Yes, I know that's not like groundbreaking, but hey, what household couldn't use an extra $80 a month? It does make housing a little bit more affordable. And if we continue to see this trend line go in the right direction, then that's going to continue to make homes more affordable. If they drop another third of a percent in the next couple of months, all of a sudden you're looking at a $160 different payment for a $400,000 home. Imagine a $600,000 home, an $800,000 home, how that can really change. Um, Obviously, no one knows what's going to happen with rates. I mean, even the smartest economic minds out there, they're just throwing something at the wall when they try to say this is what's going to happen. I've heard projections that people think rates might go down to the lower sixes by the end of the year. Still not a huge difference, but if they go down another third of a percent, say they went down to 6.25 from where they are right now. Again, for this example, well, here, I'll just plug it in. Remember, we were at 2105 before. Just say you were at 6.25 instead of what we are today. All of a sudden, you're at 1970. So now you're $135 a month difference. This payment is lower than 2 grand principal and interest. It does start to make an impact. And so I just wanted to throw this out there. If you're really thinking about moving sometime soon, you're curious about all this, um, I would advise you to go ahead and get pre-approved now, even at this higher rate. Even if you want to just see what your payment looks like today, just reach out to me. I'm happy to get you connected with a trusted lender who can advise you the right way, tell you the truth about what payments look like, and just look out for your best interests. But enough about rates. I don't want to bore you too much. Let's see what's happening in the local real estate market. Now, as usual, I am doing this basically live to tape. I like to go ahead and just kind of y'all can get my honest to goodness reactions of what's happening in the real estate market right now. And so what I've got pulled up here is Davidson County. I've not looked at any of these yet, and a couple of things right away jump out to me. First, this one right here, active inventory. So active inventory year over year, looking at August 25 to August 24, man, that's a pretty substantial jump. It's up about 30%. That means that when all is said and done, buyers have more options. Sellers are going to have to be more realistic in terms of pricing. It just is what it is. Same can be said for this trend line, months of supply. I mean, you can see a pretty clear trend here, and this is just August to August to August. 5.5 months of supply, like that is firm, balanced market territory. In fact, here, let's look at the timeline. I'm curious about something real quick. Um, so yeah, I know I had done a video in January, or I guess in February, probably for January, when when we saw a months of supply tick into here, which was getting so close to balance. Balanced is considered 6 months, but hey, 5 to 7, I think some people also consider balanced because when are you actually going to hit right at six? So 5 to 7 is kind of that balanced market range. We're squarely in the middle, and look, it's a pretty big jump from July to August. When you just look at here, I mean, July was 4 3/4, August basically 5.5. I'm rounding a little bit on both those numbers, and yet that's a pretty big jump from 1 month to 1 month. When we look at a sample size like this that's being calculated every month, there are some jumps, like you could see here from December to January to February. It kind of looked like a little bit of an EKG. When we look though at let's calculate it on let's just go 12-month rolling. Let's see. I mean, you can see a pretty clear trend line also going up. I mean, from one year, from August 24 to 25, August 24, we were just below 4 months of supply. August of 25, we're at, basically 4.7 months of supply. Pretty big jump in 1 year. What this is telling me is we are just straying really, really close to a balanced market. Obviously there's going to be a lot of factors that go into if it starts to tip into a seller's market. For one, I would say this is going to play a major factor. If we start to see this drop significantly and that lowers payments, then this will probably drop because more buyers will get off the fence and buy their homes. um, but at the same time, nobody knows what the future is going to hold. And at the same time, too, just to jump back to the snapshot, if we see active inventory continue to rise, more homes out there available, um, that just means that even if more buyers are getting out there, it's almost just kind of offsetting, and we might not see months of supply drop. Nobody knows what's going to occur with it, but this almost to me, this is telling me that the market is kind of hitting that point of, I don't know, maybe equilibrium is the right word, but it's just hitting that point of balance where supply and demand is really equaling out. And yeah, I'll be curious to see how things continue to develop as we go here. I am curious if we just dive into, because this is all of Davidson. I'm curious if we dive into, let's change it up. Let's pick more of an outlying area that's had a lot of demand. I know we've pulled up Murfreesboro in the past. Let's just pull up Murfreesboro again and see what the market looks like. Um, so still a seller's market, obviously 3.5 months of supply. That's still solidly a seller's market. However, it's a pretty clear trend line up again. You can see 2 3/4 months last year, over 3.5 this year. When we look at timeline, curious if we look at a 12-month rolling, same type of jump, also up about 3/4 of a month from 2.5 to 3.25 of the 12-month rolling. Then these are signs that say, hey, we are hitting more of a balanced market. Um, Not a bad thing by any means. I think what this means for buyers that are out there, if you're looking to buy, take advantage of it. Take advantage when you see rates dip a little bit, because just because some people are saying that rates will go down a little bit more this year, there's nothing that says rates won't go up this year. So like if rates were to say rise to 7%, that's going to make these homes less affordable. Take advantage when we see these little rate dips because it allows you to make your home just a little bit more affordable. No one, I don't think, foresees rates getting back down to anything like this. And so when you see a little drop like we saw in September of last year, take advantage of that is what I'm trying to get at. What else I would say, if you're a seller, when we're looking at all this stuff, don't get freaked out too much when we start seeing active inventory rise like it is, because both Murfreesboro and Davidson County, we see a pretty clear jump of about 30% from August of 24 to August of 25. Don't get freaked out by that yet. The reality is, as long as your home is priced right, it should go quickly. Now, there's going to be exceptions to every rule. There's micro markets inside of these bigger markets. Like there's little micro markets inside of Nashville. There's little pockets inside of Murfreesboro. Every neighborhood's going to be a little bit different. Rely on me as your realtor. Rely on whoever your realtor is to guide you through the process to make sure that you're getting the right information. But if you're priced right, you should not be sitting longer than the rest of the market is what I'm getting at. So don't get freaked out by it. Because even if when I say sitting more than the rest of the market, just looking at all of Murfreesboro, for instance, when we look here, well, this is actually pretty telling. Listing to contract on average up 51 to 51 days for last month, was 40 the year before. When we look at a timeline, I mean, I mean, there's little jumps here and there, but you could see it's man, there's definitely some changes right here. In fact, if we look at a 12-month rolling, I'm just curious. Same thing. You see the rise. I mean, it was 12-month rolling in August of last year, 38 days, 47 right now. Let's just pull up Davidson. I'm just curious. Let's reset. And there we go. Davidson County, when we look at list the contract, 61 days, slight increase over last year. But when we look at the timeline, I bet we're going to see that same jump. Yeah, I mean, it's not much of a change actually. 55 days last year, slight variations of, going up. Well, yeah, average list of contract. Just making sure I'm on the right stat here. 55 days up to 58 for a 12-month rolling. So nothing too crazy. That's actually a good sign. It's increasing obviously, but it's not increasing at an alarming rate, I guess I'd say. So anyway, long story short, I can go off on numbers all day long. I can nerd out on this stuff all day long. What I would say though, if you're a buyer, take advantage when we see rates drop, especially if you can afford it. That's the biggest thing. Make sure you can afford the home you're looking at. Talk with me, talk with your trusted lender. I'll get you connected with somebody I trust to make sure that you're in a home that makes sense for you financially. If you're a seller, honestly, I would say, and let me actually look at one more thing for you before we go. If you're a seller, I want you to consider what things look like toward the end of the year and ultimately when you want to move. I know every seller's different. Some people need to move now, like they had a sudden change of life circumstance, or just something's going on and they need to sell now. And in that case, it's a little bit different. But if you're flexible, it's more of an optional move, so to speak, then the biggest thing I would encourage you to look at is, and this is kind of hard to read just because these monthly calculations always look a little bit like an EKG. This is a little bit better because you can see the ups and downs. But you can see typically, and in fact, let's do one more thing before I get this thought out. Here we go. This is kind of what I want to share. So typically, months of supply, which just shows how much demand is out there compared to the homes that are out there for sale. Typically, months of supply is at its peak at the end of the year. So meaning there's more homes out there than buyers at the end of the year. And springtime's a little bit more advantageous for sellers. That said, if you're needing to sell and don't want to wait another 6 or 9 months, now is the time because you can see it historically. Even going back to 22, it rose, peaked in January, dropped back down, rose, peaked in January, dropped back down. Even last year, rose up, peaked in January, dropped back down only a little bit this year. That's what we're talking about with supply and demand, and it's rising. The months of supply is simply rising, and so we're going to continue to see this rise through the end of the year. So don't sit on the sidelines if you want to move now. Now, all bets are off for next year. No one has a clue what the market's going to do next year. There's too many factors, interest rates, the economy, just the world in general. So don't bank on next year. If you're wanting to move, take advantage of what the market looks like today. We know what the stats look like. We know what the economy looks like today. Let's take advantage of it, get you taken care of. I will quit rambling. I have rambled enough about numbers for y'all. But if you have any questions, just reach out to me. Happy to help. Just drop a like, drop a comment on here if you have a question. Hit the subscribe and follow button for me too. I appreciate y'all. See y'all next time. Thank you so much.